of you for coming. We really appreciate you being here, and I'm going to turn it right over to Mindy so we can get started.
Okay, I'm going to place the extra handouts right up here, so as you come to the line, just have your handouts where you get to the seat. Okay, today we're going to talk about Herbal First Choice, or some people call it Herbal First Aid. We're going to call it our Herbal First Choice Kit. And I want to start with a couple of stories, just to get us in the feel of things. Our friends, one of our clients had a baby that wouldn't sleep. And after some drops, some herbal drops, the result was one sleeping baby. One of my first personal consultations when I started doing consultations was a young baby that I went to call on who was only days old and had stopped eating and was, I think they were throwing up also. And after a couple visits and some herbal treatment, the baby was eating and putting weight on and thriving again. And I tell you these things because we need to be confident that herbs will not hurt us. And knowing that we can give them to even young babies is a good reminder of that herbs do not hurt us, and they're not going to hurt us. All right, so we're going to learn today how to assist our body's natural mechanisms. In emergency situations, we want to be prepared and be able to use what we have. Okay, so what we're going to do first is go over a few basic herbs, and I'm going to briefly touch on how you can use them in an emergency situation. And then after that, we're going to do specific scenarios, and we're going to do a lot of hands-on things, so you all get to practice working on each other. So that'll be our fun part today. Okay, so we start with arnica. Has anybody heard of arnica before? Okay, we've got one. Woohoo! Bonus points for you. All right. Arnica removes physical shock to the nervous system. Internally, you can use this herb internally or externally. It removes any shock or trauma, physically or emotionally. So you can use it for bruises, sprains, bumps. If you have a severe accident, whether it's severe and there's a lot of trauma, or whether it's just you whopped your head. If we smack our head on something, we take arnica internally and rub it on our head. It's just an amazing herb, and it will also work on old injuries. So sometimes we have a person taking it on more of a longer-term basis to remedy and repair maybe pain they've had from a car accident for years or something like that, because it repairs that trauma that has happened to the nervous system. Okay, capsicum. This is like liquid cayenne. So it's the same thing as a cayenne pepper. And in an emergency situation, we're going to be talking about it in liquid form. It does come, of course, in capsules and even a shaker that you can put on your food. But in an emergency situation, we want it to be absorbed as quick as possible. So does anybody know anything good that cayenne pepper does? Any ideas what it might do for us? No takers? Okay, well, in the emergency situation, it does a lot of things. But in the emergency situation, it is a stimulant and a hemostatic, which means it stops bleeding. So if you have a bleeding, an unnatural bleeding, like if you have a wound and that's bleeding, and you put capsicum in it, it will stop. Anything from a small cut to a big laceration. It may burn a little bit, but sometimes there's that scenario where you really need to get that bleeding stopped. And capsicum is excellent for this. It also opens up and dilates blood vessels. So if you have someone with a heart attack going on, this is going to be something that you're going to reach for right away. Okay, and it also is antibacterial, which is another good thing if you have an open wound like that that's bleeding. All right, distress remedy. This sounds, just the name of it sounds like, ooh, I need a bottle of that, but it's a 7-flower Bach remedy. And Bach remedies are flower essences, and basically they help balance and calm our emotions. So again, really good to use in any shock or trauma kind of situation. Can be used if there's heart attack and things like that, but if there just was a car accident or something like that. If you are even anxious going into a situation, like if you were anxious before speaking or giving a presentation or meeting with your boss, this is a great remedy to take and have on hand because it will calm the emotions. It helps with reduced swelling and pain and balances, promotes healing. I carry this in my purse. It's one of my things I have in my purse at all times. You just never know when you might need it. Herbal adjustment. This is a fun mix. This is very hot mix because it also has, similar to the cayenne pepper in it, but it's blended with a few other things. It makes it very powerful. And again, we're using the liquid form of this in emergencies. If you have a heart attack, a stroke, anything like this, you're going to reach for this. If the person is conscious, you're going to give them to them internally. If they are not conscious, you're going to give it to them externally. You can rub it over the heart, rub it over the head, rub it on the bottom of the feet. It's an excellent, it immediately will pull people out of things like that. And we have some stories about that. This one also will stop bleeding because it, again, has the, similar to the cayenne pepper, and it's just a different pepper. Now, lobelia is in the herbal adjustment, but also sometimes we use that separately. And lobelia, has anyone heard of lobelia before? Okay, so it's an antispasmodic, is one of its biggest uses. So again, if you think asthma attack, where the lungs are contracted, they're spasming, it's really good to pull someone out of things like that, an asthma attack. And also, it's a thinker herb, so when it goes in, it knows where it needs to be active at that moment in time, which is really cool. It's also an expectorant, so if your young child or grandchild or someone you know swallows, something that you didn't want them to swallow, you can give them enough lobelia and they will vomit it up. Now, it's an expectorant in the sense also that if you have a dry, really dry, unproductive cough, you can use that to get the cough productive and move that mucus out. And sometimes it will cause the person to throw up on the first, if they take a heavy dose at first, because it's getting that mucus out of the stomach that needs to come out. But it's really effective in those situations. So, all right, now we have our tea tree oil. And I think we talked a little bit about this last week. Is anybody familiar with tea tree oil? A couple of you have heard of it. Okay, that's good. Very antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory. It's an antiseptic and a disinfectant. So this is a little bottle. It's an essential oil. And it's very good for wounds, bites, stings, anything along those lines. And because it has that disinfectant property, then you're killing off any germs that would be at the site as well. And it can be good for pain also. Some people will use this in lieu of a tetanus shot, or if there's been a puncture wound of that nature, along with some other things. So, and then we have our Thai food oil, which we know we talked about last week as far as colds and flus and things. But in an emergency situation, this is another one that's in my purse at all times because it's small and it goes everywhere really easy. But for headaches, it's really good. Bites, bruises, sore muscles or joints, chest or sinus congestion, nausea even. And it's good like if you think you're starting to get a cold or something and you're out and about, you don't have anything with you, but you have your Thai food in your purse, you slather that over you. Or, if you're around somebody that's sick and you don't want to get it, really helpful situations for that. Ginger, which we have our lovely ginger tea over there today. It balances out the blood, so it's going to help with circulation some. And it's really good for nausea, morning sickness, and it does stimulate our digestion. It's also good for motion sickness, so any type of nausea or morning or motion sickness. And then aloe vera gel. What would we use aloe vera for in an emergency situation? Burns, very good, all right. And so we have that, of course, it comes in a liquid or a gel, and it's soothing to burns, and it's also soothing to our digestive tract. So if you think of an inflamed or hot digestive system, if you take the juice internally, that's going to be very soothing and healing to that. But of course, the gel for burns and on the skin, absolutely, very soothing. And it's also antimicrobial as well. All right, then we have another favorite, which is garlic. We learned last week that it was antimicrobial and helps keep all those bugs away. But this will lower blood pressure also. And you can take this as the first sign of a cold. This is one we recommend for like a traveler's kit. Start with your garlic and then activated charcoal. Has anybody heard of activated charcoal before? Okay, activated charcoal is a poison diluter or a poison sucker-upper. So food poisoning, you want to reach for activated charcoal. That's a big, big one. It's great to have on hand. And it absorbs those toxins, so it can be good for diarrhea. You can even use it as a poultice to draw out poison from spider bites or things like that because it absorbs the toxins. So that's a good one to have on hand. Chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is also a poison diluter. It's a liquid and it has a nice minty taste to it, but chlorophyll alkalizes our blood. It's very gentle to the system, great for kids and adults alike. It balances our blood, yet builds it also, and it helps if there's an oxygen deficiency. And peppermint oil is another easy one to have in your purse at all times, which that's in my side pocket beside my Thai food. For stomach, nausea, pain, and antimicrobial, it actually does increase circulation also. So if that's all you had and somebody was having a heart attack or stroke, you could use that topically because that will open up circulation. And our Cascara Sagrada, that is a laxative. So it doesn't hurt to have a bottle of that on hand at home for those times when you need to get things moving and cleansing a little bit. It's nice to have that around. And it's in herbal form, so it's not going to have side effects on the body, other than to get your bowels moving, which is our intended effect. Okay, so now we're going to, before we go into the hands-on stuff a little bit, I want to talk about our confessions, because our mind has an incredible control of our body. And we've known this through the Word of God for thousands of years since the Bible's written, but also even science. You know, there's all these studies about how our mind has control of our body, and the words we speak have so much power to make things happen. And one of my friends and mentors who teaches on this a lot, she's really big on this, and she teaches that we should speak to the event out loud. So immediately, like say you're cooking around Thanksgiving dinner and you burn your hand on a hot pan or something like that. If you will take the time, and it's something, you want to say something along the lines of, I command, which command is one of the key words, all trauma, shock, fright, terror, misalignment, or damage from my hand, skin, tissues, nerves, or whatever else applies to what got injured. And I replace it, or I accept perfect healing patterns to take their place with whole skin, whole whatever got injured. If you will take the time to do this, this will make an amazing difference on your healing. She actually tells a story, the lady that was teaching this, of she, pulled a hot pan out of the oven and burned her hand, and she took the time to speak this out. And when you're handling a hot pan out of the oven, you pretty much know a blister's coming. And she took the time to speak this 2 or 3 times throughout the day, and the next morning she didn't even have a blister. So this happened again a few weeks later. Well, I don't know if it's a few weeks or a few months, and she was busy, and she didn't take the time to speak all that stuff out, and her hand blistered the next morning. So, and I've actually taught this in a class in June when I was teaching to our herbal group at home, and I've had some of the ladies start to use it and really notice a good effect with it. So I really challenge you to take that. Yes?
Could you just repeat that dialogue one more time?
Yeah, absolutely. I command all trauma, shock, fright, terror, misalignment, or damage from my hand. So if it was your hand you burned, whatever. You want to put as many physical body parts in there as you could think that might be damaged. So hands, skin, tissues, nerves, if there's ligaments involved or tendons. And then you want to, I replace it with, or I accept, perfect healing patterns to take place with whole skin, whole nerves, that kind of thing.
Thank you.
Yes? All right. Okay, so now let's talk about heart attack a little bit, since that's the next on your sheet. So from the herbs that we mentioned, if there's someone that's having a heart attack, if you're feeling chest pains yourself, you can do this yourself. You can take liquid capsicum. Remember, if they are conscious, get the herbs internally if possible. It's going to be warm, but it's better than having a full-blown heart attack or continuing to have that. And the herbal adjustment, liquid hawthorn is also known to pull people out of a heart attack. Liquid hawthorn is the most healing herb to the heart that we have. And of course, your distress remedy can be used. And now I want to show the hands-on for the heart attack. So if I have somebody come up that wants to be my volunteer. Nancy, you want to be my volunteer? Okay. So what you're going to write on your papers is you're going to write left pinky. You're going to write left hand to left pinky. And you're going to write right hand to T5. And now I'm going to show you what that looks like. So I'm going to grab her left pinky like this, and I'm not squeezing hard, I just have a nice hold on the whole entire pinky. And the reason is that's an energy meridian for the heart. And then I'm going to take, let's turn you sideways for a minute, and then I'm going to take, because I want T5, which is somewhere in here, but in this situation you don't want to be counting and trying to figure out which vertebrae is which. So I'm going to take my thumb and use this as a guide along her shoulder blade. So I'm just going to slide in, and those vertebrae that I hit, I've got T5 in there. Okay? So then I'm just going to hold this until she settles down. And if I had some of those herbs, then I would have done that first and then grabbed a hold, or if I had 2 people, I'd have them do the herbs and me get going on this right away. If I just have this, and this is what I'm going to do, because you always have your hands. So that's a really good thing. The Lord's, He just made our body so amazing. And I'm just going to hold this until you settle down. Now if you were by yourself and nobody else was around, you can hold your pinky. and that will still be helpful. Or if you know, like, even if you have like heart palpitations or heart murmurs, you know, you can still hold that pinky. So that's really good. Thank you. And we've used this numerous times. Again, count the times we've used it over the years, so definitely effective.
So Mindy, does that always have to be the left pinky then?
Yes. You always want your left to their left, because otherwise you'd be trying to, you know, reach around the body too far.
Yeah.
So if you just remember left to left, yes, you always want to hold the left pinky.
Okay.
Yes, that's,
Okay, and when you're by yourself.
yes, hold your left
Always
pinky.
go to the left.
Always left on that, yes. Good question. Yep. Okay. Now we have strokes, which again, you're going to use a lot of the same things herbally if there's a stroke situation happening, because you're still involving blood flow. It's usually oxygen, blood flow to the brain, blood's too thick, that kind of an issue. So again, we can use our capsicum, our herbal adjustment, peppermint oil on the head, because that's dilates. I mean, if you think of it, when you smell a big whiff of peppermint, or you take a strong peppermint, what happens? You hope your brain opens up, right? Your sinuses, you're kind of like, woo! So it's a vasodilator, opens up the circulation. And this stress remedy can be used also. But again, if they're not conscious, don't stick things in their mouth. We don't want them choking. And then for this, you're going to, the first hands-on mechanism would be to use the fours, which are the base of the skull. So right off to the sides, you're going to put your hands right here on the base of the skull. And that's an energy pathway that opens up circulation oxygen to the brain. If you have an extra person, you can also have them rubbing the toes, because the toes are an acupuncture meridian, if you think of reflexology, to the head area also, especially the big toes. You want to focus on there and you work on that pretty hard. And that will, these things help open up the energy and circulation. We had a lady, and we have numerous stories with these also. We had a client in the office, and she was having mini stroke type symptoms. Not real severe, but you know, stuff was not right with her blood flow. And she came in one day and she was having this kind of symptoms. And we gave her herbal adjustment. I think we gave her a couple teaspoons every 10 minutes, which is strong stuff to take, but we put in a little water or something. And she came out of it. You know, we didn't let her leave and drive anywhere because she was by herself, you know, till things were settled down, but that's, and she came right out of it. And we've used this in our family with many situations too, so definitely effective. And of course, the quicker you can apply it, the better, so. All right, migraines. For migraines, there's a couple of things that you can do, hands-on wise, but if you have a migraine, we'd use the Thai fu oil to the temples and the brain stem area, which would be, you know, right in the center of the back of your base of your head, and the temples would be the Thai fu oil. And then also you can put your right hand on your head. So this one you could do yourself if you're by yourself, or you could do it, you know, have someone else do it for you. And you're gonna put your left hand across, well, the right hand on the head, and if you're by yourself, you put the left hand across the base of your neck, or the base of your skull. I'm sorry, not the base of your neck. If you have someone else with you, they're gonna put the right hand on the head, and the left hand goes on the base of the thumb. So if you're writing that down, it's right on the head, on the forehead, and left hand to the base of the thumb right here. And you're just going to hold that. Again, it doesn't have to be squeezing really hard. It's just an energetic connection that helps open up the head and relieve that pain there. So if we see you guys walking around like this, well, now you're energizing your brain. So you need some Thai food with that? Okay. All right, seizures. Does anybody know anyone that has seizures in their friends or family or anything? Seems like they've become more and more common over the last 5 years than what we used to see them, which is very unfortunate that people have to suffer with that. But also, for seizures, you want to use something that calms the brain because it's in an overactive mode. So you want to put lavender oil on the brain stem, which is, again, right at the center, the base of your head. So right where your neck starts, you know, right here. You're going to put lavender there or lobelia or both because they're both antispasmodic and very calming. And then hands-on, now I want you guys to do this to everybody. Pick a partner beside you. I want you guys to do this one because it's very easy. I want you to hold their thumbs. So you're going to take your hands and wrap them around their thumbs. And you, yep, gonna want to do both thumbs, just like you ladies are doing. That's great. This will stop a seizure. So if there's somebody else in the room around there, what else do you think we might do? If we're holding the thumbs, what else might we hold to stop a seizure if there's an extra person? Their toes. Very good. Big toes. So if you have two people, you hold the thumbs and the big toes. And this, if they're having a severe seizure, you might have to have a firmer grip because otherwise they might pull out of that. But yeah, so just be aware of that, that you can hold a firmer in those situations. But we have a lady, a good friend of Mom's, and she had epilepsy for numerous years, and so she would sit at home and kind of hold her own thumbs while she was at home or whatever, and she has not had a seizure in, how long?
Several months.
Yeah, several months. So, and she just, and she just does this on a regular basis to kind of help open up those pathways.
She used to
keep
have,
it open.
She used to have 4 a month.
Yeah, she used to have about 4 a month, and she has not had any in several months. So, that's really cool. So now again, these hands-on techniques stop the issue, and they open up the energy meridians. But then we still need to get in and get a consultation and see what's going on, so we can get the body healed up. That's, that'll pull us out of it, but we want to make sure we get everything taken care of. Okay. Asthma attack. I need another volunteer for this one. Who else wants to volunteer to be my demonstrator?
Oh,
All right, Sherry. So, with asthma, remember we're going to use our lobelia liquid because it's an antispasmodic. We can use that internally and externally. So we can rub that right over the chest and right over the back across from the lungs, so the upper back area, okay? And because that relaxes the lungs and opens up the airways. Now on this one, we're going to hold the middle fingers, and it can be left or right. So if I have I sometimes will just grab both fingers like this, and then I'm going to hold her T3. So again, that's the big bump at the base of the neck is T1, so you're just below that. So if you start your fingers just below that and leave 3 fingers on there, you're going to get it. And this opens up the lungs. And you can hold one finger, or you can hold both fingers if, the position is easily for you to do that. But you want your middle fingers and T3 for an asthma attack. So, thank you very much. And then we have anaphylactic shock, which is similar to the asthma attack in our hands-on. But if we have someone that's in a panic attack or anaphylactic shock, which, would be like where they've been stung by a bee that they're allergic to, or, something severely traumatic, a quick trauma, something like that. The distress remedy is going to be wonderful for that. And you can even, if the person is, where you don't think you can get a liquid in, maybe their airways are closing, something like that, you can rub it on their feet, you can rub it on their belly. Because the belly has the center of our meridians, so things like that. And we even use that sometimes with little children. We'll rub the herbs on their belly or on their feet, because it will be absorbed very quickly through the nervous system. So we can also use, there's a couple homeopathics. Sometimes we use aconite or ignatia for intense panic attacks, but usually the distress remedy is always our first go-to. And for this one, you're going to hold the bump on the neck, and see this one you can even do yourself. The T1, that's the bump on your neck, and the center of your collarbone, so just right here. And of course, if the person's having a panic attack, you're not going to want to hold that very tight, because that won't be helpful. But just a touch there, and it helps open up the airways, it calms them down. Very, very effective. So that's T1, and then the center of the collarbone. All right. So for bleeding, we want to use our capsicum and our herbal adjustment. And then there's a very cool hands-on, and you guys can practice this on the person next to you. If someone is bleeding, you're going to put your right hand over that spot. Now, if they're bleeding internally, you can touch the skin. If they're bleeding externally, you probably don't want to put your hand directly on it. But you can leave your hand just a couple inches off of that skin surface, and this will still work, okay, because of the energy fields. So I want you to put your right hand on someone next to you, and then I want you to put your left hand and make a cross over top of it, okay? And so how we remember this to stop bleeding is right on top means stop. So that's how you remember which hand goes first, okay? And this will stop bleeding. It's really, really amazing for that. Okay. Now this one isn't in your notes, but I'll go ahead and share it with you. If you do it the opposite way, if you put your left hand on first and then the right on top, that draws out poisons and slivers, and like if somebody has a piece of glass in their foot and you put that left hand on, well, not directly on, but just a little bit off of the skin surface, and the right hand on top, that draws out poisons and like the glass sliver or whatever. So really, really effective for emergency situations. Really great to know. So the right on stops bleeding, right top stops, and the left on top draws things out. Okay, for burns, of course, we're going to use our aloe vera gel. Lavender oil is another one that's really good for burns that we don't often talk about a whole lot, but sometimes, you got to use what you have, so it's good to know what each thing can be used for as much as possible. But that is also very, very healing for burns and helping them not to blister and things like that. All right, and choking. If someone is choking, I would recommend that they kick the person that's choking them first. But no, if they choked on a piece of food or something, then you want to, you're going to hold the inner mid-thighs. So this you can do to yourself. If someone was severely choking, like a child, you can do it to them also. And so this is what we're going to do. We're going to hold about halfway up between our knee and our groin, and right where our pant seam is. So you're just going to hold there. And again, you don't need heavy pressure, but that opens up the lung mechanisms and the airways, the trachea, and that kind of thing. So you can do that if you see if someone's choking in a restaurant or someone you're with or whatever. That works really, really well. And then herbally, you could use lavender or Thai fu or lobelia on the brainstem for that also, because it's relaxing and help things open up. All right. Couple things for kids real quick would be, if kids have fevers, and these work for adults too, liquid chlorophyll is great to have on hand for kids that might be getting a fever. It helps support the body's mechanism. It's a little bit cooling, but it's going to help. It's not going to suppress the body's actions. It's going to support it. And sometimes liquid calcium will break a child's fever when other things won't. One of the quickest ways to break fever is get the bowels moving. Sometimes that's an enema. Sometimes it's an herbal extract like LB extract, or rubbing the cascara on the little guy's feet. But when the body has a fever, it's trying to burn up toxins. That's why we get a fever. It raises the body's temperature so that the pathogens can't live. So there's a point where we support that process and we allow the fever to be there. We give them chlorophyll and nutrients. And then there's a point, of course, where it's too high or too long, and so we want to. But giving them an enema or some LB extract or cascara to get the bowels going is great, because then they're going to move the toxins out. And so that's a really, really good way to do it. So on your sheet, I'm really not sure why I didn't get this on there, but I made a list of kind of what my top 9 were, my primary ones I would have on hand, because we've covered a lot today. And I thought that was on the back of your handout, and I apologize that it's not. I copied the wrong one. So I'll give these to you kind of like where you would start with. Since we've covered a lot, I'm just going to give you kind of where I would start. So distress remedy would be my first. Capsicum liquid, Silver Shield liquid and gel, because they're antiviral, microbial, everything. Thai fu oil and lotion, or lotion. Tea tree oil, arnica, and the herbal adjustment, and then aloe vera gel. And then the other things that we covered on the first page are in my secondary category. The activated charcoal, the lobelia, that kind of thing. But you can, they're all wonderful and great to have on hand, so start wherever you feel like you need to start. So, and Mom's going to share a little bit.
Okay. Hello. It's nice to be here. And we are so blessed to know many of you, and God bless you in every way. And Mindy, what she did describe today has really been helpful to us as a business ministry. And we even have her grandpa, my dad, that has these spells when he doesn't take his herbs. I haven't found an herb yet for stubbornness, but when I do, I'm going to give it to my dad. But when he takes them, we don't get the call in the middle of the night. But those are not fun calls, and Mom has to call us, and we run down, and we do these hands-on techniques because it's kind of a mixture between a stroke and seizures. But we wake him up working reflexology on the feet. Sometimes it's a gallbladder attack where the sugar went high. We hit that gallbladder point and he starts pulling out of it. He's not with us. He's not communicating with us. He is out. But we, through peppermint oil and capsicum and these type of things, we actually pull him out. And then as she did mention, that we've had several walk in the office in different other times of the year that we've had to lay hands on people and pull them out of these type of situations. So they really work. I'm amazed how well they work, and I'm in the field, so it's good things. And she just asked me, just real quick, I don't want to keep you, I'm watching my time. I'm going to share very, very quickly what I do. It is a science used throughout the medical field in the world. There's two sciences I use. And the first one is called iridology. So I'm going to use Sherry as an illustration. When Sherry came to us, she had a very dark greenish brown eye. And her eyes are more and more that she cleanses and builds are blue. And she has a very, very strong constitution. And as you know, she has a lot of energy. So we're just really blessed, that we just work with Sherry once a month and keep building her, and if there's anything that comes in right away, we can cleanse it. We also look for more serious illnesses and diseases, and that, not in Sherry, but that way we keep on top of things for you, so you don't go down the road and have some real serious type things. We will see heart attack tendencies, again, not in Sherry, but we'll see heart attack tendencies or that heart weakness and these type of things of leaning toward a stroke quite often before the medical techniques. But this is a science used throughout the medical field, and we love our medical field here too. We need them. We can't give you numbers, they can give you, and different types of things. And if I'm in a car accident, you better take me to the hospital. So that was not slammed in our medical field, but this one is used throughout every other country in the world as a diagnostic tool called iridology. And the way it works is we have hundreds and thousands of nerve pathways that go through the body, through the brain, and end in the iris of the eye. We actually have 180,000 nerve endings in each eye, and I don't know how they counted them. But at cell level, you all know there's electrons and protons. One is positive, one is negative. So together they work real well, and they make a type of electricity. So every cell has its own perfect measurement of electrical energy. Every organ and gland has its own measurement of perfect electrical energy. But if there is a disease, a lack of nutrients or circulation, then that organ or gland can go too fast or too slow from its original speed. The minute and second it does that, then it shifts the nerve endings that parallel to that organ and gland in the iris. When they shift, that creates a line or a dot or a spot or a color. And it tells me things that I can help you with, even if there's a cyst or a growth there. If you stood a little person in front of this eye chart and they face this way, from 11 to 1 is the brain area. Down through here will be your eyes, nose, mouth, tongue, tonsil, thyroid. The lower area is male, female, kidney, adrenal. The right eye shows that liver, gallbladder. The left eye shows that spleen and heart. Obviously it's on the left side. Other than that, they're a perfect map. Now they do know it was used before Christ, but the main history they use is a young boy playing with an owl in the 1700s from Hungary, and he noticed a dark line in the owl's iris at 6 o'clock. That owl had a broken leg, but when the owl's leg healed, that dark line disappeared and went back to the original color of the iris. So that intrigued them, and that's why it's been studied. And again, to this day, it is used throughout the medical field in the world. And we have some other real unique eyeballs up here you can look at later. We also do muscle testing. We do it very scientifically, where we have you hold out your arm, using the arm just as a lever. Many of you may have seen this with chiropractors. You can use any muscle in the body. The brain works as a computer, monitoring the body constantly. It creates heat or acupressure points on the body for any organ or gland, again, that's out of balance. It will always parallel to what I just read in the eyes. So if my liver's sick, it will create a heat or a hot spot on that liver. But because I have electricity and you have electricity because of those electrons and protons, when I'm using your arm and I go through acupressure points and I touch them and there's already a weakness, it'll oversurge. The arm will weaken, but it'll tell us exactly where the problem is and what the problem is. When there's an invader like a virus, strep, staph, bacteria, heavy metal, chemical, parasite, worm, and cancer. When it invades the body, the brain knows the difference by those electrical energies, exactly what we have in an illness or disease. So we're able to test that. I'm 55. When I was 35 years ago, and for 10 years we tried to find the illness and disease I had, and I was dying. I was only eating oatmeal brown rice, and it was a doctor in Holland, Michigan that did that test that I just described and saved my life. So it caught my interest, and we study under Christian colleges today. God bless you, and have a super day.